Hey everyone, today we'll be looking at Akiba's trip, Undead and Undressed. I'm not really sure how to introduce this game, honestly. It's a game where you go and fight people by stripping their clothes off in Akiba. How could I not review it? The game came out for 3 different PlayStation consoles as well, but we'll be looking at the PC version specifically. The PC version is only available on Steam. Let's start talking about the game. Basically, what happens is this. You get kidnapped by a shady bunch of guys who turn you into something called a synthester, which is like a vampire, except that instead of blood, they feed off of people's social energy, however that works. You escape with the help from a mysterious girl called Shizuku, who is also a synthester. You, along with Shizuku and your friends, who call themselves the Akiba Freedom Fighters, then try to protect the people of Akiba from synthesters. How you do that is by ripping clothes off of synthesters to expose them to light, which kills them. It's a pretty wonky plot, but trying to make a serious plot around those game mechanics would have been silly. Let's talk about gameplay. First thing you'll be greeted with is a visual novel-style cutscene. Get used to them because you'll be seeing these a lot. When you're not sitting through cutscenes, you'll either be walking through the city or fighting. Here's how the battle mechanics work. Keep in mind that I'm using a controller. The only thing I'm going to say about the keyboard controls is that they're unrefined. The aim is to strip the opponent. You have to first weaken their clothes before you can pull them off. You can strike high, low, and in the middle. The A button is for low strikes, B for middle, and Y for high. Once the garment has been sufficiently pummeled, hold down the corresponding button to pull it off. If you haven't weakened it enough, they'll either push you away or you have to mash buttons to weaken their clothing more. Eventually, you'll be able to do combo strips as well as team attacks. The enemy can weaken your clothing too, so make sure to straighten yourself out whenever you can. The battle system sounds pretty well thought out, but in reality, it's not very refined. Things can get pretty difficult when you get swarmed by multiple enemies, since there's no way to attack more than one opponent easily. It gets frustrating really quick, and overall, hits don't feel that satisfying, which is pretty important for a beat-em-up. The graphics aren't bad, but nothing special. The meshes could do with more detail. This applies to both character models and environments. The rendering distance isn't very far, so far away people get replaced by symbols, which I think is pretty funny. I read somewhere on the internet that Akiba is supposedly very well replicated in the game, but I've never been there, so I can't really comment on that too much. There's definitely a lot of activity with tons of people walking around, interesting ads, and videos playing on big screens around the city. It's fun to try and recognize all the different games, anime, and manga that you see around town. If you get bored with how the game looks, you can choose from different style presets or modify parameters yourself to change the overall look of the game. It's too bad that the game is locked at 30 frames per second. These days, something like this shouldn't even exist. There should have been at least an option to turn it on or off. While the game falls a little short on the graphical side of things, I think the overall art style is actually pretty good. I like the loading screens, cell phone menus, and overlays. The character art is very nice as well. If you've ever watched anything from the Monogatari series, the art style should be familiar to you since the character designer is the same person. I noticed that the art is flipped around when the characters are facing the other direction during cutscenes. Asymmetrical details like hair clips make this pretty obvious. The music in the game is pretty good. There aren't very many songs, but there's a good variety of genres. And how can you not enjoy the fact that the BGM for the shops is gangster rap? Speaking of shops, You can get new weapons and clothes by either buying them or picking them up. Sometimes the weapons are weird things like motherboards, keyboards, and monitors. More traditional weapons like guns exist in the game, they're just not used in a conventional manner. In typical Japanese fashion, there are multiple routes, endings, and a New Game Plus mode after you finish the game. As you go along, you'll unlock some artwork, which is different depending which character route you go along with. It's kinda cool how you can use that artwork as your phone's background too. The game isn't that long, so trying to get all the different endings isn't such a huge pain in the ass like with other games. Speaking of routes, I'm a little disappointed that there's none for Kari. Also, is she Kimi's long-lost sister? The developers must be Formula 1 fans if they gave her that last name. If you want a change of pace, you can do some side quests. Or read through some of the threads on Pitter. There you have it, a silly game based on a silly premise, but it's fun even if it is unrefined. Is it worth the full price? For most people, probably not. If you're not sure if you're going to enjoy the game or not, just wait until it's on sale. There are people who complain about the fan servicey nature of the game, but honestly, what do you expect from a game like this? That's like watching a horror movie and complaining that it has scary bits in it. It's just a bit of fun, no need to be so prudish. That's it for me. Hope you enjoyed the review. See you again next time.
その迷いのない脱がしっぷりなかなかいいわよ。